Tonight is the night. Tonight is the night that some folks wait all year for. They start preparing and planning on December 26th. They start looking for sales. They start thinking through things. They start planning celebrations. Tonight is the night when we gather together, when we light some candles, when we sing the songs, and when we hear the story. This story about parents who couldn't find a place to stay for the night and ended up among the animals. This story about a woman giving birth. This story about angels and shepherds. This story that is, let's face it, a little hard to believe. I need to own that. This is, in fact, a story that is hard to believe, and I know that because I know people who have heard it time and time again, and yet who do not believe it. There are some people who simply do not believe it. There are other people who make a point of not believing it, and really all of us at some time or another have had trouble believing it. Maybe we have scoffed at it a little bit. Maybe we have just forgotten about it a little bit and laid it aside. It is, after all, a story that is hard to believe. Let me walk you through it. The first thing that is hard to believe: love creates the universe. Not just once, billions of years ago, but in every moment of every day. Every new subatomic particle that pops into being, every new cell that is part of my body, every new life that comes into existence is brought forth by love, is sustained by love, is carried through creation by love. Love is at the roots of everything that is. And our very being is held by our connection to love. The second thing that is hard to believe: love is a person. Not admittedly a person like you and I are people, but a person nonetheless, a person who loves, who creates, who sustains, who cares for, who we can talk to, who we can listen for, who we can take comfort in, and who offers us comfort. The third thing, which is not hard to believe, is that love sometimes feels a little distant. Sometimes we feel far away from love. Sometimes we feel disconnected for love. Sometimes that thread that connects us to love feels stretched, even to the point of breaking, and sometimes it feels like that thread has in fact broken. Look around at the world. It is hard sometimes to believe in love. The fourth thing, the thing that tonight is about and that is hard to believe again: love sees us. Love sees our distance. Love sees our brokenness. Love sees our messed upness. And love's heart breaks. Love weeps for creation. Love longs for us to again abide in them and them in us. And so love, this love who is a person, this love who creates, this love who sustains, this love who is the sovereign of all creation, of all the universe, of everything that is and was and will be. This God lays aside glory, takes off their godness, and comes into the world as one of us. This person who is not at all like us comes into the world as a person who is exactly like us, and does it from the beginning. Love does not appear fully grown somewhere in the wilderness, stepping into civilization and telling us what is up. Love does not appear in the halls of power, on the thrones of kings. Love is not in the Senate or with the emperor. No, love comes into the world as a baby among a dispossessed people in an occupied land, to parents who could not find a place to stay for the night. Love comes in the world as the marginalized, as the oppressed, and again, as a baby who needs care, who needs tending, who needs raising. It is a story that is hard to believe. There are, and I will own this, moments when I have trouble believing it. There are moments where it sounds too good, too amazing to possibly be true. There are moments when I look around at the world, when I see wars and hear rumors of wars, when I see people struggling, when I see folks lining up at food pantries, when I see folks going to homeless shelters, when I see folks having doors slammed in their faces, where I see folks being tackled by the authorities, being deported to who knows where, there are times when it is hard to believe that love is running everything, and there are times when it is hard to believe that love has come into the world. There are times when it's hard to believe that love exists at all. And yet, even in those moments, I am drawn to this story. I am drawn to this story that we tell on Christmas Eve about love coming into the world as one of us, about love taking on our humanity, taking on our createdness, that we might be redeemed, that we might be restored, that all of creation might be made new in love, that love might reign throughout the world. There are times when I believe that in utter defiance of everything that I see. There are times when believing that is an act of the will, is an act of resistance, is an act of revolution against every power of sin, against every power of death, against every power that makes life less. There are times when believing that is like lighting a candle against the darkness that threatens to envelop us, that threatens to envelop me. And so I don't know where you are tonight. I don't know where you will be tomorrow or next week or next year. I do not know when you will have those moments when it is hard to believe this story that we have gathered to tell tonight, to hear tonight, to remember tonight. But I tell you that it is a story that is worth believing in those moments when we simply believe it, when it is just true, when we just know it. And it is a story that is worth believing in those moments when doubt seeks to overwhelm us, when it seems too good to believe, when it seems too hard to believe. Because it is by believing this story that we, as this people who follow Jesus, as this people who follow love, it is in this story that we find a source of hope, a source of peace, a source of justice, a source of joy, a source of love. It is in this story that we find ourselves again and anew. And so I am asking you, this season and every season, this Christmas, of course, and in the days to come, even as we move further and further from holidays and celebrations, to every so often tell this story. Tell it to yourselves, tell it to friends, tell it to neighbors, tell it to strangers. Not in a judgmental way, not in a I need you to believe this way, not in that kind of way that we all get very uncomfortable with whenever we start sharing stuff about our faith, but with this simple joy and this good news. Love is in charge. Love is sustaining us. Love is redeeming all that is. Love will bring us back to life. And you are loved and worthy of love. You are in fact loved by me, by each other, and most of all, by the God who would set aside everything to become this Christ, this source of hope and peace and justice and joy and love, who would set aside everything for all of creation of which you are a part and for you personally. And I know that there is more to the story. They sometimes sneak it into the Christmas carols in the second verse, just so you know that more is coming. But this is where it starts. With this story about Christ, with this story about Jesus, with this story of this simple evening when everything changed forever and ever, and where the world began blossoming into something new. This, I believe, with every fiber of my being. This story is the one that I enter in order to find myself, in order to be part of the revolution that is happening all around me, in order to nurture God's reign of love all around me, until the world is at last full of love, and the truth of this story is obvious, and it is easy to believe.